Imagine walking into your bank and suddenly finding yourself being humiliated, racially profiled, and surrounded by cops. This was the nightmare reality for Olivia Carter, a respected district attorney, when she visited a Commonwealth Bank branch. Olivia walked in that day expecting nothing more than to cash a check, an ordinary, mundane task. But within minutes, the air shifted. What should have been a quick visit to the bank spiraled into a situation no one could have imagined. Accusations flew without evidence. Assumptions were made without merit. And Olivia suddenly found herself in the middle of a humiliating and life-altering experience. Olivia Carter wasn't just another customer. She was a highly accomplished district attorney with a reputation for fairness, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to justice. She was known for her sharp intellect, unyielding determination, and ability to hold even the most powerful individuals accountable. She was the last person anyone would expect to face such blatant discrimination. On this particular day, Olivia was on her lunch break when she stopped by her local bank branch to cash a check. The check wasn't just any check. It was a large sum issued as part of a settlement from a recent case she had closed. Olivia waited patiently in line, holding her ID and check in hand. She had no reason to expect anything unusual, but as she stepped up to the counter and handed her documents to the teller, the mood shifted. The young employee examined her ID for an uncomfortably long time, frowning slightly before glancing at the check. The teller asked Olivia to wait and disappeared into the back, leaving her standing there. Minutes passed, and Olivia noticed two employees in the back office glancing at her, speaking in hushed tones. The longer she waited, the more obvious it became that something wasn't right. Finally, the teller returned, but not with the cash she had expected. Instead, the branch manager, a man named Thomas Blake, appeared by her side. Thomas greeted Olivia with a rehearsed smile, but his tone carried an air of suspicion. Without any explanation, he began questioning her about the source of the check. Where had she gotten it? Why was it so large? Could she verify its legitimacy? Olivia, ever composed, responded calmly, explaining the settlement and offering to provide further proof if needed. She handed over her business card, which clearly identified her as a district attorney. But it was as if her words fell on deaf ears. Thomas's expression hardened, and his skepticism grew. His follow-up questions became increasingly accusatory. Are you absolutely sure this check is legitimate? You understand we have policies to prevent fraud, and this check doesn't look right, he declared, his voice louder now, drawing the attention of customers nearby. I'm not cashing it until we verify where it came from. His refusal to cash her check was not just an inconvenience. It was an insult. Olivia's patience wore thin. She took a step forward, locking eyes with Thomas, her voice steady and unapologetic. Let me ask you something, she said. What exactly about me makes you think this check is illegitimate? Is it my ID? My profession? Or is it just me standing here? Her words cut through the room like a blade. The surrounding chatter stopped, and the tension was undeniable. Thomas, clearly uncomfortable, tried to maintain his composure. It's just our policy to verify. Policy or profiling? Olivia interrupted, her tone sharper now. Because I've been standing here for far too long, while you and your staff whisper behind my back. Do you ask every customer with a large check these questions? Or just the ones who look like me? Her unapologetic stance was impossible to ignore. Thomas faltered for a moment, but instead of addressing her questions, he made a choice that would change everything. He turned away, picked up the phone, and called the police. Olivia stood her ground, her arms crossed, watching as Thomas relayed his version of events to the authorities. She knew exactly what was coming, and she was ready to face it head-on. Minutes later, two police officers arrived, their demeanor tense and aggressive. They approached Olivia as though she were already guilty, their hands hovering near their holsters. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to step aside," one officer said curtly. Olivia, who had dealt with law enforcement in her career countless times, remained calm. Step aside for what? She asked. This check is legitimate. My ID is legitimate. I've done nothing wrong. But the officers didn't seem interested in her explanation. One of them reached for her arm, attempting to lead her away from the counter. Olivia pulled her arm back, her voice steady but firm. Don't touch me. I am not resisting. I am a district attorney, and I know my rights. Olivia took a deep breath and addressed the officers directly. Let me make myself perfectly clear. I am Olivia Carter, a district attorney. I know the law inside and out. What you're doing right now, trying to detain me without cause, is illegal. Now, unless you have a valid reason to arrest me, I suggest you let me go. Her declaration hung in the air, causing a moment of hesitation among the officers. Thomas, still standing behind the counter, looked visibly nervous. He hadn't expected her to stand her ground so firmly, let alone assert such a powerful identity. But the damage was done. Olivia had been humiliated, accused, and nearly detained, all because of baseless assumptions. What would you do if you were in Olivia's shoes? Would you have reacted differently when confronted? Let us know in the comments and subscribe now to the channel for more inspiring stories like this. Olivia wasn't going to let this go unanswered. The very next day, she took the first steps towards seeking justice. She filed a lawsuit against Commonwealth Bank, accusing the institution of racial discrimination, wrongful accusations, and emotional distress. This wasn't just about her. Olivia knew she wasn't the first person to experience this kind of treatment, and she likely wouldn't be the last. Her goal was clear: to expose the systemic bias lurking within the bank's policies and to hold those responsible accountable. Her legal team, a group of highly skilled attorneys who believed in her cause, immediately got to work. They combed through evidence, uncovering disturbing patterns in the bank's behavior. Records revealed that customers of color were disproportionately flagged for fraud checks, even when their documentation was in perfect order. The case also drew in testimonies from other individuals who had suffered similar experiences. The trial was long and emotionally draining, but Olivia never wavered. She knew what was at stake, not just for herself, but for countless others. And in the end, the jury's decision was unanimous. Commonwealth Bank was found guilty of racial discrimination. Olivia was awarded millions in damages, but for her, the victory wasn't just about the money. It was about sending a message that discrimination, no matter where it comes from, will not go unchallenged. How many more stories like this exist, waiting to be heard? How many people suffer in silence, believing they have no power to fight back? Olivia's story is a reminder that no matter how overwhelming the odds may seem, standing up for yourself and for others can lead to real, meaningful change. Have you ever experienced a situation similar to this, or know someone who has? Share your story below. Let's open this conversation and work together to make a difference.